So CD Projekt Red likely just made their best decision ever for the future of Cyberpunk 2077, something that until the past 12 hours or so was considered pretty much impossible. Yet here we are with a major news blowout about the fact that the company has now hired actual game modders to not just fix Cyberpunk 2077 but also further enhance its modding support. And I don't think people yet fully realize how important this is, not just for the company and the game as a whole, but for the entire fan base and the game's longevity. Now, the news actually broke out yesterday straight from the lion's mouth, so I'm sorry if I'm a bit late on this one as I was out of town when the news dropped, but essentially the mod author behind Woven Kit, which is one of the most important utilities that was created for Witcher 3 in terms of mod creation and editing game files, and also more recently for Cyberpunk 2077, came in with this announcement on Discord. So hey everyone, we are extremely pleased to announce that Blumster, Nightmaria, Refuso, and I will be joining CDPR under my and Nightmaria's company. We will be working on various projects related to the Cyberpunk 2077 backend and the game's modding support. We are really excited for this, and we really hope we can help to bring Cyberpunk 2077 to the next level. And rightfully so, it got a ton of comments, it got a ton of upvotes, and this is likely the best news ever. The only thing I'm surprised about is the fact that CD Projekt Red themselves didn't come in and clarify this officially. I would have definitely enjoyed if CDPR came in and made a statement about this, or at least an acknowledgement, or maybe a, just a reply over there. It would have definitely made a ton of sense. But at the end of the day, this is still magnificent news for everybody who's looking forward to play Cyberpunk 2077 a lot more. Now, why is this important for the game? Why is this important to us? And more important, why is this important to you? Especially since many of you are console players, so you don't get the full benefits of modding support like how the PC crowd gets it. But there's a few reasons for why that's the case, and I kind of want to go over that, but also first start things off with the PC crowd and just take a look at some of the numbers over here. If you look at Cyberpunk 2077 and its fan base, especially on Steam, you will notice that it kept itself quite constant and quite stable over the past 6 months. Even in like the most droughtful of periods when we got absolutely no news about new updates, the game still maintained a pretty healthy player base of about 10,000 to 20,000 at a 24-hour peak, which is still a far cry from its all-time peak of almost 1 million players, but it's still good. It still means that the game has potential, that there's a reason for the company to further work on the game and improve it, on top of the fact that they kinda owe us anyway for the overhype that they were doing before the release. What I'm trying to say here is basically that there's enough fan interest to fully maintain a growing and evolving modding scene for Cyberpunk 2077, and if you think about it, Cyberpunk as a whole is just one of those perfect playgrounds for mod authors to go wild into and release features that you will never see from gaming companies, at least not anytime soon. And this is a good segue into our first reasoning for why you as a console player will see a great benefit from this, even though technically speaking your platform didn't yet get any modding support, and that has to deal with game longevity. There's many good examples out there of games that survived for a lot longer and even sold way better years after their release simply because they had very strong modding communities behind them. This in turn translates to sales numbers, which in turn translates to the companies being more eager to put out content and to support the game for longer periods of time, which is usually done across the board. So it's done on all platforms including consoles, which means that even if you're not technically getting modding support, you are getting new features because the studios are, incentivized to create new ones or at least support the game for a little bit longer. The second reason, which is also what I suspect CDPR's reasoning behind hiring mod authors at the game is the fact that we might be seeing many of these mods being turned into actual features, which means that CDPR doesn't have to go through Sony to enable modding on the consoles, which we already know that Sony is quite stingy with. Like, they definitely don't want to lose their grasp on their own platforms, so it's highly unlikely that even CD Projekt Red might not be able to convince Sony to get full modding support yet for Cyberpunk 2077. but if instead they follow a different route of turning mods into features with these mod authors that they've been hiring, they can just release those as updates across all of the platforms, so that includes consoles as well. Like, just imagine having a full gameplay overhaul, which is one of these mods that we covered in yesterday's video. A game that completely revamps the way you look at gear, the way you equip it, the benefits you get from it, and also the way you mod it further. That is just a mod. Now imagine that CDPR came in with an update that revamped some of the systems in the game that already don't really make sense, or made them even better, or improved certain aspects of the game. In this case, you don't need to download a mod for that, you just get the update, and with the update this also means new feature, and new feature that would be much better tested and implemented, and I reckon more compatible since it's added directly by CD Projekt Red themselves. But it also comes into the final point, which is the modding support, and it's likely that CD Projekt Red will push this for the consoles as well. Right now the only thing they announced is that they're planning on enhancing modding support for Cyberpunk 2077, but at the same time this is now limited to only the PC version of the game, which begs a good question: is CD Projekt Red going to add mod support for Cyberpunk on the console version as well? And if you look in the past years, both Sony and Microsoft were more and more willing to permit mods for certain games released on their platforms. And it's not just Skyrim that got really great modding support for the PlayStation 5, for example, or 4. It's also games like Fallout 4, which, yes, technically it's the same company, but also others like Unreal Tournament, also I believe Farming Simulator, and there's a few other examples in there. So CD Projekt Red, being as big as they are and the game being, you know, as sold as it was, would be a great fit and probably a good candidate for that as well. So just think about the crazy mods that we would finally get to see in Cyberpunk 2077, both for PC and consoles. I've taken those examples with Skyrim and GTA 5 previously, but just think of how cool this would be in Cyberpunk 2077, because Cyberpunk is literally one of those perfect playgrounds for mod authors to go wild into and release really great features that normally companies don't usually release for various reasons, maybe time constraints, maybe internal policies, maybe just, you know, not caring about it. But having this available for Cyberpunk 2077 would add so much to the game. As a matter of fact, I really thought that Cyberpunk would release with even better modding tools in day one, but it never happened. We did get some updates for the modding tools, but it's still a far cry to what it could be, but I think it could finally be possible for us to actually do this. So just from the top of my head, I can already see a third-person mod working way better if, yeah, CD Projekt Red finally enhances that modding support, or maybe a full game rebalance like how we had a couple of days ago, the mega mod that changed the game so much, and like just having even new game plus. You can do that with a couple of mods right now, and if you have an even better modding support, there's more areas of the game that you could change, to the point that you could even add new vehicles in Cyberpunk 2077, maybe even new items, among many other things. Totally let me know your opinion on this in the comment section, and more important, what mod would you like to see added in Cyberpunk 2077, be it on the console or on the PC version. This is it for now, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.